your shoulders soften. And lengthen through your spine, rise through the crown of your head. Let your eyes close. Feel your hips soften. Deepening your breathing, feeling the lungs expand and contract. Long, slow breaths coming to presence here on your mat. Noticing if the inhale or the exhale are uneven. Try to keep both sides of the breath long and slow and deep. Beginning to set an intention for your practice. A focus to return to throughout this hour of yoga. An intention that you'd like to cultivate. Take one more deep, slow breath in. And as you exhale it out, let your eyes slowly open. And then take your chin and just turn it over your right shoulder. And then drop your nose towards your shoulder. Maybe reach your left fingertips away for a little deeper stretch on the side of the neck. Keep softening chin towards shoulder. And then lifting your chin, look over your left shoulder, return your left hand to your left knee. And then taking nose towards shoulder, reach the right fingertips away. And the more you reach through the fingers, the more you're going to feel that stretch. Good. Breathing here. Lengthening the spine. Can you turn the music up a little bit, please? Good. Long, slow breaths. return to center. Replace both hands on the knees. And let's just tuck the chin to the chest. Let your head fall forward. And breathing as you exhale, head nice and heavy. Stretching the back of the neck. And inhale, lift the chin up. Good. On your next inhalation, sweep the arms up overhead. Take your right hand down to the ground. Lift through your left fingertips and start to arc up and over, just reaching. You can come onto that palm, maybe coming down to an elbow if you've got that length and space in your side body. Breathing into the stretch. On an inhale, come back to center. Take your left fingertips to the ground. Right arm reaches up. Lift through the right fingertips and start to arc up and over. Good. Keep opening the top ribs up so that you're stretching through the side body. Good. Lengthening through the arm. Breathing deeply. And return to center. Good. Release the arms down. Good. Trying to sort out our music. I can't hear anything. No, it's playing. Oh, wow. We'll make it up as we go. You can hear the music playing. Good. Inhale once again. Reach your arms up high. Well, here we go. And then as you exhale, take your hands forward and plant the palms. Roll to your hands and knees. Good. Feeling your belly button lift towards your spine. Engage your hands with the earth. Oh, there we go. That was bound to happen, right? Here, we'll start it over. Start to flow through your cat and cow. Inhale, chin and tailbone rise, belly drops. Exhale, curling the spine upwards, round your chin to your chest. Press your heart through your shoulders. Inhale to lift. Exhale to round. Take that again. Inhale, rise. Exhale, round. And then start to move fluidly, just rolling through the spine, shoulders, hips, hands. Just move as feels good to you. One more series of breaths. And come back to that hands and knees position. Belly engaged. Good. Let's slide the right fingertips forward and then slide the left toes back. And they can be on the earth still. And then really square your hips, square your shoulders. Feel your belly button lift towards the sky. Maybe fingers and toes hover. Maybe they lift in line with the body. Good. Notice if you start to kind of get off the hip lifts on one side or the other. Round your back toes, your back knee towards the ground. Feel your belly lifting up. One more breath. And then on your next exhale, bend your knee and elbow. Bring them together underneath you, round your spine. Inhale, reach out. Exhale, draw in. Inhale, expand. One more. Exhale, draw your core in, nice and tight, squeeze. Inhale, open up. And take your hand down. Take your knee down. Good. Take your left fingertips forward, right toes back on the earth. Square your hips, engage your core. Get set up right here, strong body. Start to reach through your heel, reach through your fingers. Maybe they lift off. Keep your belly button lifting towards your back so you don't sag through the center. Back knee, back toes face the earth. Good. Your next exhale draws elbow to knee round. Inhale, open up. Exhale, draw it in. One more, expand. Exhale, bring it in. Open up, reach. Take your hand down. Take your knee down. Nice. Let's take the knees wide apart, big toes together to touch, and just sink your hips back onto your heels. Walk your hands forward. Let your forehead rest on the ground. Child's pose. Relaxing the hips, maybe shifting gently side to side. Any arm variation that feels good. The arms can be out in front or back alongside the feet. Good. You might walk your hands side to side for a little extra side stretch. Good. Up to you. Just a couple breaths here. Power up your arms so that your hands are pressing into the earth, your elbows lift off the ground. Sink your chest towards the earth at the same time. Keep your arms strong. Good. Start to shift some weight into those hands. Lift your hips up. Tuck your toes under your feet. Lift your hips even higher. Downward facing dog. Pedaling through your feet. Shift your weight left and right. Good. Breathing long, slow breaths. Press your hips up and back. Lengthen the spine. Good. Start to walk your feet towards your hands. Coming into a forward fold. Let's heel toe the feet a little wider apart, a little wider than hips width. Soften your knees and just allow your torso to drape over your legs. Let your head be heavy. Take your right hand to your left elbow, left hand to your right elbow, and just sway a little gently side to side. Eventually pausing at center. Release the hands. Keep the knees nice and soft and start to roll up. one vertebrae at a time. Heel toe your feet hips width or a little closer. Hands alongside the body. Open those thumbs wide, side to side, broad across the chest. Let your inhale float your arms up overhead. As you exhale, keep a strong core, hinge from your hips, flow to your forward fold. Inhale, lengthen your spine, strong core to support you. Exhale, bend your knees, put your hands on the ground, and step both feet back into a plank. Good. Bring your hips in alignment with the rest of your body. Nice straight line. Good. Energy out through your heels. Feel your belly button lifting towards your back. Take another breath. Exhale, knees to the ground, shifting your weight forward. Bend your elbows straight back, lower chest and chin, and then glide forward down onto the ground. Rolling shoulders open, squeeze your elbows towards one another. Lift through the crown of your head. Good. Press to hands and knees, all the way back to your downward facing dog. Taking 3 breaths here or child's pose. Rolling your upper arm away from your ears. Pressing through all the knuckles of your hands. Walk your feet forward. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, soften. Inhale, rise all the way up, flat back, arms reach high. Exhale, take your hands together in front of your heart. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, forward fold. Moving with your breath. Inhale to lengthen. Bending your knees, put your hands on the ground, weight in your right foot, step your left foot back. Good, make sure that your front shin is straight up and down. Press through your back heel so that back leg is active. Take a breath in your lunge. Plant your palms, engage your core. Step your right foot back to a plank. Either knees come down or shift your weight forward. Bend your elbows straight back, chaturanga. Inhale, open up to your cobra or upward facing dog. Good, roll your shoulders open, press back, downward dog. Breathing here or child's pose. Nice. Soften your knees a little bit more and then really lift your hips up and back. Good, nice. Walk your feet towards your hands. Inhale, lengthen your spine. Exhale, soften. On your inhale, rise up with a flat back, arms float high. Exhale, draw palms together, Anjali Mudra. Inhale, reach. Exhale with a strong core, fold. Long spine as you inhale. Exhale, bend the knees, hands come down. Weight in your left foot. Step your right foot way back. That left shin is straight up and down. Knee isn't coming forward over the toes. energy in your back leg. Square your hips. Strong core. Breathe. Good. Plant your palms. Step back plank. Either take your knees down or chaturanga. Open up, back bend. Press back, downward facing dog. Breathing here or child's pose. Good. Nice. From here, let's inhale, hover the right foot any amount off the ground. Exhale, step that right foot through your hands. Good, and then find your blocks nearby. Sorry if you've got to come out of that lunge to grab them. Good, so the right foot is forward. Let's drop the left knee to the ground and untuck the left toes. Take the blocks into your hands and walk them back alongside your hips. Good, you're gonna have to come up a little bit higher, nice. So from here, really square your hips, scoop your tailbone underneath, lengthen your torso, maybe now just your fingertips around the blocks. Broaden across your collarbones. Good, the legs are nice and strong. Maybe this is where you stay. If you're having a lot of sensation in that left hip, this might be a wonderful stretch right here. If you want to come a little bit deeper, follow the hips with the blocks. So if they glide a little bit further forward, just move them a tiny bit further. Good. If you keep that tailbone tucked, the core engaged, you likely won't get far. Good. I'm going to take a few breaths here. Take one more nice and slow inhale. Slow exhale out. Good. I'm going to move the blocks away, just gently side and side. Hands come forward. Let's shift the weight back. Lengthen your right leg, lift your right toes. Good. So let's grab the blocks again, actually. Take them under your hands and bring yourself up a little bit higher than you might normally. Roll your right hip back and down. So you're trying to square the two hips. A lot of times that right hip comes forward. Try to roll it back and down. And then lengthen your spine so your back you're feeling some extension up and out. Good, and then keeping the hips square, keeping the spine long, maybe you hinge from your hips a little bit more. You could take the blocks lower or further forward. Just see where it feels good for you. Keep lifting those right toes, squaring the hips, lengthening the spine, and breathe. One more breath, nice and slow. And take your weight forward into that right foot. Take your blocks away. Plant the palms, tuck your back toes, lift your back knee. Step back to a plank. Either lift your hips downward facing dog, or you might flow through a vinyasa, up to you. hover your left foot. Step your left foot through your hands. Good. Take your back knee to the ground. Untuck your back toes. Grab those blocks. Come to the high position and walk your blocks alongside your hips. Good. So use that stability to really help you power up the legs. Square your hips, draw your tailbone underneath, lengthen through the upper body. And maybe those fingers are just hovering on the blocks. Good. Maybe the hips gently glide a little bit further forward. If they do, just move the blocks with you. But keep that really beautiful integration. Someone is buzzing. Good. Lengthening through the crown of the head. And let's take one more breath. And take your blocks to the sides, hands come down. Lengthen your left leg, lift your left toes. Good, maybe the blocks come back underneath the hands. Square your hips, so roll your left hip back and down. Lengthen your spine, lift through your left toes. Good, and from here, once you have those square hips and lengthened spine, then maybe you start to hinge a little bit more. Good. See where you're at today. The left side might be different than the right. Breathing nice and deep. Energetically, you're drawing that left heel back towards you. And deep breath in. Your exhale moves you forward. Take your blocks away. Plant your palms, tuck your back toes, lift that knee. Slide to a plank. Lift to a downward dog or flow through a nice strong vinyasa. Good. Find your downward dog. Find that length in your spine. And then let's come down onto our knees. Take your knees to the ground. Good, and then walk your hands back, roll up through your spine. Good. We're going to grab our blocks once again. You're going to set your blocks back next to your feet. Good. And then tuck your toes so that your heels are lifted. Good. And then take your hands to your low back, fingertips pointing up towards your neck. Roll your shoulders open. Start to lift through your heart. Send your hips gently forward. Keep your chin tucking towards your chest. Good. The hips glide forward, but the heart lifts you up out of the hips. Nice. Just take a breath here. So this is as far as you need to go for the first round. And breathe. Keep thinking hips forward, but lift the core, lift the chest, roll the shoulders open. And then with a strong abdomen, draw your hips back, lift your torso. And let's just take a nice little child's pose. You might have to move your blocks a little side to side Take your knees just a teeny bit wider apart and allow your torso to drape over your legs. Little break in between the back bends. Good. Breathing here. And inhale, rolling up nice and slow. Power up the legs and lift up. Take those blocks back alongside your feet. Good. Move the blocks in nice and close so they're right up against your ankles. Good. Okay. So once again, hands come to your low back. Roll your shoulders open super broad across the collarbones. Send your hips gently forward. Lift through your core. Open your chest. Lift through your heart. And this time, maybe take a hand back to a block. Maybe open the other hand back to a block. Good. Just see how it feels. If you can keep your hips traveling forward. Keep your chest opening. Good. Nice. Roll those shoulders open. Squeeze the shoulder blades together across the upper back. Good. One more breath. Walk your hands back to your low back. Engage your core and rise up. Good. Take your hands forward. Sit your hips back. Knock those blocks over. Knees a little wide. And release into a lovely child's pose. Good. Breathing here. Slow breaths. Slowly start to make your way into a downward dog. Good. Let's get a little higher off the ground this round. Inhale, lift your right foot up. Keep your hips square. Good. Nice. And step your right foot through your hands. Take your left heel down to the ground. Squeeze your inner thighs towards one another. Engage your core, and then reach your arms up alongside your ears. Feel your shoulder blades traveling down the back as you square your hips towards the front of the room. So if it doesn't feel like you can get those hips anywhere near square, try taking your back foot a little bit wider so that they're not quite lined up. And then rotate that left hip a little further forward. The back toes, instead of pointing out to the side, let them come a little bit further forward so they're pointing kind of on an angle. It's going to give you a little more room in the hips. And then sink into that right hip as you tuck your tailbone and lift the low belly. Nice. Take one more inhale. Exhale your hands down to the ground. Step back to a plank or to your downward dog. Vinyasa or breathing in that solid pose. Good. Find your way to a downward dog eventually. And then lift your left foot. Keep your hips square, the back knee, the back toes face the ground. Good. Exhale, left foot comes through. Good. So this time, if you know that you needed that space to square your hips, step your right foot a little wider to start out with, and then take your right heel to the ground. Squeeze the inner thighs, strong core to rise. Tucking the tailbone, scooping the low belly to lengthen the spine. Reach through your fingers, even as you soften through the shoulders. Sinking through that left hip. And one more breath in. Let it out, hands come down. Stepping back plank, either downward dog or flow. Give yourself a break if you need it. Nice. Good. Nice. Take another breath in your downward dog. And then inhale your right leg to lift. Exhale, bend the right knee, step your right foot through your hands. Good. Take that back heel down. Readjust the feet if you need to. And rise up on your inhale, Warrior One, Virabhadrasana 1. Good. Find that point of alignment. Square the hips, soften the shoulders, lift through the fingers, and then let your exhale open you up to a Warrior 2. Good. Nice. Make sure that front knee is pointing right over your toes. Torso's nice and long, extension through the crown of your head. Soft shoulders. And cartwheel your hands down to frame your front foot. Step back to a plank. Your choice, Vinyasa or downward dog. Good. When you find yourself in downward dog, your next inhale lifts your left leg. Exhale, stepping left foot through the hands. Back heel comes to the ground. Squeeze the legs, rise up, inhale. Good. Power through that pinky toe edge of your back foot to lengthen the leg. Exhale, open up, Warrior 2. That front knee points over the toes, hips are open, chest is open. Shoulders are soft. Good. And then notice if your ribs are lifting. Try to draw them in. Good. Cartwheel your hands down. Stepping back to a plank. Lift your hips downward, facing dog. I'll pause in downward dog. Pedaling a little bit left and right. Good. Nice. Inhale to lift your right leg. This time, let's bend the right knee, stack your right hip over your left. So you're opening that right hip up, just a little side body opening, hip opening. And then exhale, square your hips, step your right foot through your hands. Keep your back heel lifted. Good. Power up the legs. Find a point for your gaze so you're already looking forward. Strong core, the hands hover. Lift your torso up. Nice. So that back heel is really pressing back, squaring the hips. Maybe rise those arms up alongside the ears. If you feel super wobbly, take the back heel down. Otherwise, try keeping it lifted. A little more power here. Good. Reach through the fingers. Maybe you even come into a gentle back bend here. Just lift through the heart, nice and sweet. Exhale, take your hands to heart center. Good, let's come into a twist. So take your left elbow outside your right knee. Okay. And then open your chest up to the right. You can drop your back knee down if you need a little extra stability. Otherwise, keep that knee lifted, legs are strong. Breathing deeply. And then release the twist, come back to center. Good. Take your back heel down, open your hips up. Open your arms up nice and wide. Warrior two. Breathing here. And cartwheel your hands down to the ground, but this time you're going to step your left foot forward. Good. Keep your weight on your right foot. Your left foot's on the ground, but it's nice and light, and come all the way up. Take those hands back in front of the heart. Sink down into your chair pose, so you're bending that right knee. Stack your left knee over your right. Good. The toes are on the ground. So send your hips back behind you, lift through your heart. Maybe those left toes tuck behind the right ankle. See what happens. Maybe the toes just lift off. Nice. Good. If you want to add a little extra challenge, your right elbow comes over your left, wrists together, palms together. Right elbow over left. Good. With your breath, you can lift those elbows up on an inhale. Exhale them out and down, maybe sinking a little deeper. Good. And release. Release the foot, release the arms. Come into a forward fold. Good. You can take your feet a little bit wider for stability. Allow your head to relax. Good. Maybe right hand to left elbow, left hand to right. Maybe your knees are soft. Maybe you find a little sway. Good. Release the arms down. Good. And then take your weight into your left foot. Step your right foot way back. Nice. Power up your legs, square your hips, engage your core. Lift your torso up. Nice. If you're feeling super wobbly, take that back heel down. Otherwise, keep it lifted. Keep energy pressing through that heel. Inhale, the arms lift. Good. Lifting through the fingertips. Maybe you come into a gentle back bend. Good. Good. Keep some weight in that front foot even as you lift your weight up and back in that back bend. Exhale, come back to center. Draw your hands into heart. Your right elbow is coming towards your left knee. Open your chest up. Drop your back knee if you need to. Otherwise, keep it lifted and strong. Breathing here. Nice. lengthening through the crown of your head. Good, come back to center. Take your back heel down. Open your chest up, open your arms wide. Warrior two. Sinking into the pose and breathe. Cartwheel your hands down to the ground to frame your left foot. Roll to the ball of your back foot. Weight in your left foot. Step your right foot forward, but just hover it. Gentle weight there. Rise up to standing. Bending into your left knee. Hands come to heart center. Stack your right knee over your left. Toes can come down, or maybe they tuck around the ankle. Nice. Bending, sending hips back. If you want that added challenge of the arms, left elbow over right, wrists together, palms together. Good. Take a breath on your inhale there, float. On your exhale, they press out and down. Good. Inhale, release. Nice. Very good. Let's take another balance since we're doing so well. Come onto your right foot. Left toes. Turn that left knee out. Good. So feel your hips square, feel your core engaged even here. So you could take your hands to your hips and notice if maybe one elbow is forward or one is pointing down. Try to even them out. Get nice and strong. Good. And then this might be your pose, or take your hands to heart. Maybe those toes lift off, sole of the foot to the ankle. You could also try at the calf. If you want to challenge yourself, maybe you reach down and you place the foot on the thigh. The only place you want to avoid is the knee. Good. Nice. And then again, just make sure those hips are nice and square. And find somewhere where you can just breathe and be for a few breaths. You're going to feel that standing foot making little adjustments. Just try to feel yourself solid and still. Resting on your bones, on the earth. And maybe, if you like, with your inhale, reach your arms up towards the sky. Good. Draw those hands back in. Release your left foot down. And then resist the urge to wiggle your feet. Just close your eyes. And feel that energy evening itself out naturally. Nice. Start to shift your weight into your left foot. Open your eyes up. Come up onto your right toes and turn your right knee out. Let's take our hands down to our hips. See what's happening here. Maybe you're opening up a little too much. Try to find center. Lift through your low belly. Really find that length in the body. And maybe hands come to heart center. Maybe your right foot lifts to the ankle, or the calf, or maybe coming up to the inner thigh. Good. And if you try out coming into one of those higher levels with the foot, and you're starting to feel super wobbly, just come back down. Finding a point of gaze, a drishti, somewhere to place your focus. Feel your body resting on that standing foot. It's pressing down into the earth, and the earth is responding. Maybe your last inhale reaches your arms up. And your exhale takes the hands down. Little challenge here. Release that right foot and step it way back. Turn both toes in. Good. And take your hands to your hips. Hinging from your hips, start to come into a wide-legged forward fold. Good. And then take your arms out to either side. Make little fists with your hands. Bending your elbows, take those fists together behind your back. Nice. Good. So you might stay right here. If you want to, you could lengthen your fingers and then start to work those fingers up towards your shoulder blades, coming towards a little prayer pose behind the back. Otherwise, keep those fists. Nice. Good. You can either keep that arm variation or release your hands down onto blocks or the earth. Those blocks should be nearby. Can you use them to support your hands? Good. We'll stay here for a few breaths. You can play around with where you've got those blocks. Maybe you walk them back a little bit further between your legs. You can rest your hands on them there. Maybe you take them out a little bit wider towards your feet. Nice. Breathing wherever you are. Start to walk your hands back to center. Take your hands to your hips. Engage your core. Lift your torso up. Good. Turn your heels in, toes out. Nice. Take those hands, turn the palms up towards the sky. Elbows are bent, like you're holding two delicious veggie pizzas. Bend your knees straight out over your toes. Nice. Okay, so notice if what happens is that your bottom starts to poke out behind you. Try to bring it underneath. Takes a little bit of hip mobility there. So your toes are pointing out, your knees are pointing right over your toes. Let's take our pointer finger to our thumb. Nice. Good, bend a little deeper. Inhale, rise up, reach your hands up overhead, touch your fingers together. Exhale, come back in. Nice. Take it again. Inhale to rise. Exhale, come on down. One more time. Inhale up. And exhale down. Okay. Lengthen both legs. Take your left heel and turn it away. So those toes are turned the same direction as your right toes. They don't have to be all the way forward. It's on an angle. Nice. So your right toes are forward. Both legs are long. Stretch your arms out. Shift your hips back. Release your fingers. Lean your torso forward. Lower your right hand. Lift through your left. Trikonasana, triangle pose. Trying to rotate that upper body open. You can use a block. You should have them nearby. Maybe coming up on a little higher position here. Good. Long, slow breaths, trying to create more space in the body. Longer lines, a little more lift. Okay, one more fun challenge balance pose. Make sure you've got a block in your right hand. I'll come back here so you guys can see me. Take your left hand down to your left hip. Bend your right knee, reach that block out and a little bit further to the right. Good. So what we're going to do, first step, is just to put more weight onto our right foot. Strengthen your core, really draw your belly in. And then tap your left toes right behind your right foot. And then with that strong core, start to reach your left foot back behind you. Try to stack your left hip over your right. Open your chest up. Good. Nice. Maybe that top arm reaches towards the sky. Maybe it stays on the hip. Really flex your back foot, energy out through that heel. Beautiful, you guys. Ardha Chandrasana. One more breath. Soften your right knee. Step your left foot way back. Power up your legs. Come back to center. Turn your right toes in. Turn your left toes out. Shift your hips back. Lean your torso forward. Lower your left hand, reach through your right. Trikonasana. Nice. Little triangle pose. Some hamstring lengthening. Rotating the upper body open. Soften your left knee. Take a block into your left hand. Right hand comes down to your right hip. Okay, take that block out into the left. Okay. Start to shift your weight into your left foot. Right toes tap right behind that left heel. Good. And then with your strong core, send your right foot straight back behind you. Stacking your right hip over your left. You can always move that block a little further forward. That's going to give you a little bit more room to balance. Maybe the right fingertips lift up towards the sky. Flex your back foot. Really reach. Reaching through all of your limbs. The power of the arms and legs here are what stabilize your core. Soften your left knee. Step your right foot way back. Rise up. Lengthen your left leg. Turn your left toes in. We're coming back into a wide-legged forward fold, and just see how different it likely feels now. You can take blocks under your hands again. Got a little bit more length in the back of the legs. Good. You can always soften your knees here a little bit if you need to. If it feels like too much pulling on that insertion of the hamstring, just soften the knees. Make it feel good. All right, one more breath. And then start to heel toe your feet until they're just a bit wider than hips distance apart. Your toes are slightly out, heels are slightly in. Bend your knees, sink your hips down. Try to keep your heels on the ground if you can. You can keep your hands out in front of you. Malasana, a little wreath pose. Maybe if you're feeling stable, hands come to heart center, use your elbows to gently press your knees apart. Lengthen through the crown of your head as you sink your tailbone down. And breathe. Try to lengthen your spine. Good. Nice. One quick little moment of arm balance if you'd like. If you'd rather stay here in this nice hip opener, feel free. Otherwise, plant your palms in front of you. Turn your toes in to face your wrists. Bend your elbows and lift your hips up. On that upper arm that you've kind of bent down towards the ground, rest your knees. Start to shift your weight forward so you're rolling up onto your toes. And then round your upper back, engage your core. Nice, that's all the strength of the pose right there. Round the upper back, use your core, elbows squeezing in behind you. Maybe your toes lift off the ground. Maybe you just lift one set at a time. Nice, you guys. Beautiful, Ryan. You can come back down to the ground whenever you're ready. Lengthen your legs. Forward fold. Okay, a little bit at a time, just walk your feet around so your toes face the front of your mat. Soften your knees, so much so that you come all the way down to the ground, however you want to get there. Nice. Bend your knees out to either side, soles of the feet together. Soften your knees down, lengthen your spine. Start with a shoulder opener. Take your hands back behind you so that your fingers are pointed towards your hips. Good. And then broaden across the collarbones, pulling your shoulders open. As you inhale, lift your heart. And then as you exhale, soften. Let your chin roll to your chest. Let your spine round back. Inhale, lifting up. Exhale, round. Inhale, expand. And exhale, round. walk yourself back to center. Let's take our hands to the soles of our feet. Good. And then just start to hinge from your hips, bend your elbows out to either side. Try to keep your spine long here. Good. Breathing. Take whatever feels good here. You might want to try just playing around with what happens if you take your heels a little bit further away. If you take your heels further away, you might be able to use your elbows a little bit more, a little extra weight. A little more outer hip opening rather than inner hip opening. Good. Breathing long, slow breaths. And let's rise up, inhale. Take the legs nice and wide apart. Good. Flex your feet so that your toes are lifted up. And once again, let's take our hands back behind us first. And really lift through the chest. Sit up nice and tall. Good. And if you're feeling enough of a stretch right here, this might be where you stay. Just find some length in the spine and hang out here. If you want to come a little bit deeper, walk your hands in front of your legs. Try to keep that length in the legs, length in the spines as you walk your hands forward. Keep your feet flexed. And breathe. Come on up to center. And let's take our hand outside our right knee. Bend that knee and bring the leg to center. Take the sole of your right foot to the inner left thigh. Take your left hand to your left leg. Reach your right fingertips up. Lift through the fingers and gently arc over that left leg. If the stretch is too intense in your side body, take that right arm and just tuck it behind your back. Take another breath. And release, come back to center. Take your hands alongside your hips, and you're going to turn to face that extended leg. Face that left leg. Good. Place your hands out in front of you, lengthen your spine. From that length, maybe you gently start to walk forward over that left leg. Janu Sirsasana. Good. One more breath. Take your hands back behind you and just release that right leg out. Hand behind the left leg, bend the left knee. Sole of the left foot to the inner right thigh. You're facing between the legs. Right hand on the right leg. Left arm reaches up. Really lift through the fingers and start to reach up and over the leg. You can rest on the elbow if it feels good. On that right elbow. Notice if you're rounding forward. Try to open the left side body up. Nice. Breathing long, slow breaths into those left ribs. And release back to center. Take your hands alongside your hips and then turn so that you're facing your right leg. Nice and extended out in front of you. Good. So your belly button is facing your right big toe. Nice. Hands come forward, lengthen your spine. And start to hinge from your hips. It's okay if you don't get far, just keep aiming the body up and over that leg. Inhale, rise up. And bend that right knee in as well. Good. And then let's turn both knees up towards the sky. Make sure you don't have any blocks behind you. Reach your fingertips forward. Engaging your core, start to roll down one vertebrae at a time. You're going to find a place where it's extra hard. Try to stay there. And then keep going. All the way to the ground. Walk your heels in a little closer to your hips. Good. Make sure your feet are about hips width apart. Arms alongside the body. Press into the feet. Start to roll the tailbone off the ground. And then really slowly, one vertebrae at a time, keep peeling yourself up off the mat. Keep lifting up. Maybe you interlace the fingers underneath the low back. Press through the knuckles and then walk the shoulder blades underneath the heart. And if you can reach and grab a block without coming down, just grab your block. Otherwise, come all the way down. Nice. And then you're going to take your block in either the medium or high or low position. You're going to use it right underneath your sacrum, so right in that hard part right above your bottom. You're just going to rest yourself on the block. You can play around with the height that you want. And then just allow your body to drape over the prop. Make sure that you feel really supported by the block. If it feels like you're wobbly, try to move it around, get a little bit more secure. It's probably just at an angle. Relaxing. We're going to stay here for a few breaths. So make sure you're nice and comfortable. And allow your abdomen to relax and release. If your knees start to splay out side to side, try to draw them back in so that the knees are still pointing straight towards the wall in front of you. Just a little bit of inner thigh activation. And breathing deeply, reconnect with your breath. With each exhale, soften your body a little bit more. Feeling your body unwinding, softening. Releasing. We're going to take 3 more breaths here. Really give those 3 breaths their full depth. And on your 3rd exhale, just start to feel the feet on the ground a little bit more. Just press into the feet a little bit more. Tuck your tailbone and just start to move it so that it becomes a little lighter on the block. And then move the block from beneath you and 1 vertebrae at a time. Come down onto the ground. Good. Walk your feet a little bit wider apart. And then just let your knees drop from side to side like windshield wipers. And then come back to center. Keep those feet wide and just let the knees come towards one another. Take your arms out nice and wide to a T. Good. Bend the knees in towards your chest. Wrap your arms around the legs and just rock a little side to side. And then let your knees come over to the right side of the body. Open your arms up and look over your left hand. And then let your eyes close. Let your hips and shoulders be heavy. Sink into the earth, into that supine twist. Breathing long, slow breaths up and down the spine. exhale, just let your hips come square to the floor, knees lift up towards the sky. And then knees drop over to the left. Arms are open wide. Taking the eyes, the face over to look beyond that right hand. Hips and shoulders are heavy. Breathing up and down the spine. And then roll onto your back. Lengthen your legs out along the mat. Coming into your Savasana. Just make yourself comfortable, whatever feels good in your body. Feeling your breath flowing gently as your body softens into the earth. Letting each exhale relax your muscles a little bit more. Softening into the earth beneath you, as if there's no barrier between yourself and the ground. starting to deepen your breathing. Find a little gentle movement in your fingers and your toes. And reach your arms up overhead and stretch as if you're just waking up. And then bending your knees, roll over to one side. Pressing into your hands, lift yourself to seated. Eyes closed, hands at heart center. Taking one moment of gratitude for all that this practice may have brought you this evening. Just feeling if you've got a little bit more freedom in your body, a little more space in your mind. And a moment of gratitude for all that you have brought to your practice tonight. Namaste. And I am definitely grateful to the two of you for a beautiful practice. And a little tea. Look at that.
6 p.m. I'm not sure.
Thank you. 6 p.m. That sounds about right. A little later than 6 p.m. though.